Time now for everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time. Yes.
It's time for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA fans.
Yeah. Feels like we haven't done this in a while, right?
It's been a minute.
Because we had the Monday show, but not the Wednesday show, so it's actually been 2 weeks.
That's right.
From the Box Studios
My math is correct.
New York City, it's On the Nose.
Have you ever been to
And now,
Niagara Falls,
to
Frank?
answer your questions,
No, I haven't.
Get out of your
actually.
seats and on your feet because here
I'm gonna
he
go
is,
for the first time.
Ariel
That's specifically where my wife is
Helwani.
Thank you. American side or Canadian side?
American side, but
Yeah.
like over there, I guess prior to COVID, you would just walk back and forth like it was nothing.
Does it even matter?
It does now. Yeah.
Oh, it does? No, I mean, like, are the views
The
different?
views on the Canadian side are supposed to be better.
Typical. Not surprised, MFers. All right, let's get into it. Daniel's up first. Bonjourne, Ariel. I have but one question for you. When Nate Diaz defies all the odds and comes out victorious on Saturday night, hushing the naysayers, proving wrong all people that wrote him off from the day this fight got announced, what do you think he will choose to do going forward? Re-sign and campaign for the rematch to settle unfinished business with Leon, ride out into the sunset as an FU to Dana and the brass. Let me know your thoughts. Nick Diaz Army, Daniel. And by the way, shout out, I got to do a little video essay for my good friends over at BT Sport, written by the great, the inimitable, the incomparable Chuck Mindenhall. That is out right now all over social media. So check that out. A little homage to the great Nathan Diaz. Honored to do that. Tough one. Very tough one. I think that the world will be his oyster. He'll have the whole world in his hand. He'll be able to do exactly whatever the hell he wants, and he'll get paid a hell of a lot to do it. So I have said this before. If, in fact, he does pull off the upset, I wouldn't be shocked if the UFC says, Kamaru Usman, much love. We're going to give the bag to this guy. We're going to give him $20 million to fight Leon Edwards in the UK, and we've just got to. So either he takes that, he waits to see. Look, here's the thing. The Jake Paul thing is huge and it's big business and he'll make a lot of money. However, it's a one-off, right? Maybe you do an immediate rematch. It's a two-off. There's obviously a longer future, if you will, with the UFC. Now, can they pay him the same? Remains to be seen. Here's what's happening. Nathan Diaz is betting on himself. In short. And by the way, no coincidence, comes out on Sunday and says, hey, I've got my own promotion now as well. Nathan Diaz ain't fighting Jake Paul on a MVP card, right? As just a participant. Jake Paul is doing a co-promotion with Nathan Diaz. If in fact they fight, it will be an MVP real fight thing. Like, this guy is trying to build a business, a legacy, and prove once and for all that he isn't the dumb guy that everyone made him out to be early on. He has surrounded himself with very smart people. In particular, his manager, Zach, is very, very shrewd, who no one really knows anything about. But one of the best decisions he ever made was teaming up with him. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? The proof is in the pudding. Also, one of the best decisions I would argue he ever made was breaking free from Caesar. Now, this is not me throwing any shade, but he had to kind of break free to do his own thing and to be his own master and to be his own business. Nate Diaz Inc. is a very real thing. He loves to shout out the Nick Diaz Army, and that's him giving respect to his older brother. But he is his own entity, his own business, and he had to break free to do that. And so if he wins, it'll be one of the greatest plays of all time, and they'll throw a ton of money his way, and he'll be extremely successful, and he'll make millions upon millions of dollars, whether he stays or goes. But I think that the UFC will make a play. If he loses, I doubt they make a play. If he wins, I bet you they make a play, and they make a strong play to get him to stick around and fight for the belt. That's my prediction. Logan, favorite segment of the week. What are your thoughts on Nathan Diaz saying about his upcoming fight against Khamzat? What they got me doing right now, this is the quote, is acting like I called for this fight, which I didn't call for, and I didn't want, and still don't want. If it were up to you, who would you match up Diaz for? Who would you match up for Diaz in potentially his last UFC fight? So, I mean, this runs a little bit contrary to what he said and what his team was saying when this fight was announced. Listen, we all know Diaz really didn't want this. We all know, I mean, he turned it down once, and we all know it's not the great matchup for him that I mean, Dana White himself said it was a bad matchup for him. So we all know. No one's dumb. Everyone understands what's going on. For the 1,000,000th time, and thankfully, come Monday, we won't have to talk about this anymore. If he would have re-signed, he would have gotten Dustin. The fact that he didn't resign, they couldn't resign him, they gave him the hardest matchup. It's very clear what's happening. So, yeah, it would have been Dustin. If it were up to me and I was doing things the kind of like fair way, the right way, the way to honor a legend like that, not try to kill off the legend, give him a tough fight, not a guy who's in the top 50, but, you know, a name, backstory, tough. If Dustin wins, great. If Dustin loses, great as well. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's Nate Diaz. God bless. Maybe you convince him to stay. That's the matchup that I think would have been the most appropriate at this point in his career. It had the backstory. It had the name. It had everything. Could have headlined any pay-per-view. And I think a lot of people would have been a hell of a lot more excited and comfortable with that matchup. So that's what I would have done. Amin. Hi, Ariel. 2 questions for you. Win or lose Saturday night, do you think the UFC allows Rogan to interview Nate post-fight and risk him saying something negative about the company? I mean, if he wins, he's 100% going to get on the mic. And honestly, I think if he loses, if it's appropriate, I think he'll get that opportunity too. If he's brutally knocked out or something like that, maybe not. But I don't think he's going to say anything that bad. It's pay-per-view, man. Like, what's he really going to say? This isn't Dana White circa 2009. You even see him at the Contender Series post-fight press conference. Like, he doesn't have that same fire. And again, this is not me throwing shade. He has won. He has millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. He doesn't get fired up about this minutia like he would in 2006 when it was all very personal and he was scratching and clawing and they were in the hole. It's a different game. And so I would be personally surprised if they didn't allow him to speak on the mic, win or lose. And I would be shocked if they didn't give him the mic with a win. Anderson Silva, he goes on to say, and Jake Paul fight is a little under 8 weeks away. Is this a fight that Anderson has known about, or is the short prep time a tactic similar to weight cutting clause Jake's team is using to give him an advantage? I mean, it became a thing once Hasim Jake fell through. So that's August. That's when the talks really started. I mean, that fight fell through the last week of July, right? So I would say since then, it was really a thing. I don't think any tactics or anything like that. And they've shown him a lot of respect. I mean, his logo's even on the poster. Like, I think it's some sort of Anderson co-promotion, whatever that means as well. I don't think there are any funny games being played here. That's for sure. And I know Nikisa in particular, who's Jake's business partner, Nikisa Bedarian, has a lot of respect for Anderson. He was there during Anderson's heyday in the UFC. So I don't feel like there's any funny business or bad blood or anything like that. El Cubano, hola Ariel, help me filter through my feelings. While I want Nate to do what Nate wants, I also want him to keep fighting in the UFC. In my opinion, there are a plethora of fights I would still love to see. For example, a war between him and El Cucuy would be amazing. The build-up with Poirier is there, the BMF rematch with Masvidal, the finality of the trilogy with Conor McGregor, just to name a few. My question this week is, as a Nate Diaz fan, should I truly expect this to be his final UFC fight? If so, thank you, Nathan, for all the memories over the last 15 years. There will never be another Nate Diaz. That gives me chills. Viva Helwani. No, I don't think you should feel like it's the last time we'll ever see him. Could it be the last time for now? Sure. Could he go off and fight one fight against Jake and come back? Yes. Could he go off and do one boxing match just to scratch that itch and come back? Yes. This is the crazy fight business. We're talking about Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva being a real thing, for goodness sakes. We're talking about Khamzat Chimaev versus Nathan Diaz being a real thing, for goodness sakes. Never say never. Trust me. Could it be the last four now? Yes. But like even the thing I read for BT, I added the word potential. Nothing is final, especially in this crazy game. So yeah, you can have emotions about maybe this being the end of a chapter, the end of a run, and maybe the end. But can I sit here and say the absolute end? No. Chris, Ariel, crew, Lewis, glad to have you back in our lives. There's been a lot of fantasizing going on and what ifs regarding a Nate Diaz upset this weekend. But what if magic isn't real outside of Salt Lake City and Khamzat Chimaev wins in impressive fashion? Very possible. With Edwards Usman 3 being the next title fight, do you see a scenario where Chimaev jumps the line at 85 to take on Izzy? Maybe. If he should be victorious at 281, there's not a lot of options there after Alex. So yeah, it's possible. The timing seems to be right. There's no clear number one contender. It's hard to sell. Yeah, it's very possible. Or do you do, Khamzat versus Colby, which I think would be a gigantic fight too. Or he just may wait. If they do Leon and Usman in March, maybe he waits and he fights the winner in the summer. It's either that. I could see 85, bit of a long shot, but I could see it. Or the Colby fight, which I think would be fantastic, and they wanted to make it. Cosmo Kramer. Hi, Ariel. What are your thoughts on CM Punk's comments at the AEW press conference? It was so painfully awkward looking at Tony Khan as CM Punk was going off. Seemed a little disrespectful to the company. Do you have any more insight on what exactly Punk was so angry about? I've never seen one of their press conferences before, so maybe the F-bombs are normal. Thanks. All right, well, I have some comments, some thoughts about this. Number one, obviously I don't have the sources, I don't have the insight that I would if something like this happened in MMA. I don't really talk to Punk as much as I did back in the day for no specific reason. So I didn't ask him about any of this. I don't have that kind of insight. I will just say, like, from afar, and I've seen there was a story that came out at the beginning of the day from SI that some of the people involved will be suspended, have been suspended, and there's like a third-party investigation. So Punk's fate, I guess, is a little bit up in the air. But here's my general sentiment. And I kind of like these press conferences. WWE did it on Saturday too. I think if they do more of it, it's kind of a cool wrinkle. I think it's a fun wrinkle. It gives it that kind of, big fight feel. And I think there are other things they could do to do that. When AEW first started, and it was Tony Khan and these other wrestlers with the EVP role, it seemed like that's a great idea because now kind of the boys are running it. But it also seemed, in retrospect, like a potential tricky situation because wrestlers are wrestlers. And we have seen in the past when the wrestlers are running the show, at times, all hell can break loose. It now appears as though the inmates are running the asylum. And that's not a good thing. And it feels, at least from this point of view, Tony Khan had to suspend people because it feels like he has lost control of his locker room. The first indication of that, at least to me, was Cody Rhodes leaving. Cody Rhodes left. He was a pillar. He was a part of the foundation. Now he's leaving. What is going on there? What's happening behind the scenes? And then you have this press conference where you have this incredible night for the company and one of their biggest stars comes back, MJF comes back, and it's completely overshadowed by a quote-unquote feud that will never make any money for them. Now, not everything has to make money. Not everything... and by the way, this was not a work. Do not think that for a second. I know that's the first inclination, but it wasn't. I know not everything has to lead to business, has to lead to money. But for it to overshadow a big night for the company was very unfortunate. Now, I understand Punk is a very loyal guy. He's a very, very loyal guy. He's a ride or die kind of guy, and I respect that out of him. But this story with Colt Cabana, like, it has to die at some point. Like, we're talking years of, like, what has it been, 8 years of this story with Colt Cabana? It has to die. And I don't think it does him any good. And I don't think it obviously does the company any good for this to continue being a thing. Now, the comments about the EVPs and then the alleged fracas, melee, brawl in the back, like, none of this is good. And that's why I am led to believe the inmates are running the assignment. He needs to gain control of his locker room, of his company, or else the whole thing is going to blow up. And it's amazing that 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, they were the darlings. Everyone was like, I was sitting in this chair saying, I'm captivated by the product. I love going home on Wednesdays and watching Dynamite. It's all very interesting. It's fun. MJF, this and that. Daniel Bryan showing up. Adam Cole. And now it feels like the roles have completely reversed where Triple H is the darling. WWE are the ones who can't miss. Everything they're doing is being well received. And you've got this very toxic situation with AEW. At times, this is going to come across like me being a hater. I have no relationship with Tony Khan. I've said it in the seat. You can do a highlight reel of me giving them praise. At times, it feels like Tony is a little too much of a fan. And I feel like wrestlers can walk all over that. and they can just the demeanor, the body language. You have someone who like no one's acting like that if Vince McMahon is sitting next to them. I can assure you of that. Or if Dana White is sitting next to them, I can assure you of that. Bob Arum, etc. And so he needs to put his foot down and gain control. And maybe it is time to have other people involved who aren't quote unquote wrestlers, because there's always going to be a conflict of interest there. I mean, that was a recipe for disaster. Just go read about WCW in the 90s. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he can regain the, I think like the trust of the locker room and how they can fix this. And I don't know if having, active wrestlers be quote unquote EVPs, whatever that means, is the right move anymore for this company. I think you need actual leaders, actual people in charge who have no sort of personal interest in the day-to-day wins and losses storylines, like a booking team, so to speak, which is traditional. So it's a weird look. I know fans revel in this and the internet loves this sort of thing, but it's like are they going to talk about it on Dynamite tonight? Because that would be strange too. So unless it leads to anything, what was the point of all of it? Obviously in that moment, CM Punk isn't really thinking about what's the point. He's just getting stuff off his chest and he feels very upset and he feels disrespected and he feels wrong and he's not really caring or thinking about, the business, how's it going to, but like you take a step back and you're probably Tony Khan sitting there and being like, well, this is a mess of a situation. And here's what I thought was actually the most troubling part of it all. Once Punk's press conference was done and he walks off and it's like, holy crap, that was wild. If I were in charge, and I know it's easier said than done, I would have sat there and been like, all right, that was something, we'll deal with that. You're talking about EVPs not being able to run a target, but what about tonight? What about this? What about that? What about MJF? What about Action Bronson getting involved? What about this? What about that? Instead, it was Tony Khan talking about, I have more money than Jim Crockett and WWE hasn't been too nice to me and the things that they've done and they're running on Labor Day. Like, buddy, like you wanted a war, you got a war. And that's just the way it is. Like you can't cry foul now. I mean, this guy was cutting promos on Nick Khan, and I know, and I could see it now. I can see the tweets coming in. Oh, that's your guy. You're a shill. This and that. Please, whoever says that, then go look at the tweets of me saying the product was better, Dynamite was better, SmackDown Raw boring. I'm telling you, I couldn't care less. I have nothing to do with any of this. I show up every few months, I do a couple things, and then I go home, and it's great. Couldn't care less. I'm the only one who's telling it like it is in all of this. You're cutting promos on a non-wrestler. You're cutting a promo. He's doing a video wearing sunglasses, cutting a promo on Nick Khan, who is not an on-screen character. And now they're going to run shows the same weekend as you, and you're going to be like, they're not being very nice to me, but guess what? I have a lot of money, and I'm going to battle them. Like, that's not the time to do that. And by the way, that's not really something that really, galvanizes your audience. I would have sat there and been like, all right, that was wild. We're going to fix that. But what about this? And what about that? And what about this match? And what about this appearance? And what about this return? And what about action? That's what I would have done in that moment. Cue the tweets. I could see them coming now. Oh, look at this shill. Look at this. Go fuck yourself. I couldn't care less. That's the truth. From someone who was sitting there and watching all of that and being like, geez, that to me, honestly, no joke, that to me was more troubling than the wrestler who had just been in a 25-minute match, bloodied, beaten, bruised, getting some stuff off his chest. The leader talking about, I have money and they haven't been nice because they're running Labor Day weekend. They've been running Labor Day weekend for like 3 years. It's not like a historical weekend for the company. They're like 4 years old in total. What are we talking about here? Of course they're going to go head to head. UFC did it to Affliction back in the day. This is what companies do. This is what the big dog does when someone's nipping at their heels. It's almost like a sign of respect in a weird way. So I don't know. The whole thing was weird. Inmates running the asylum, little strange. I like Punk, feel for him. Probably not his finest hour. I doubt he really cares. Curious to see what happens. Can we move on from the Colt Cabana thing? Wrestling is fascinating right now. And who would have thought? Like Triple H, ultimate babyface. Wild. Abe, Ariel, how sick was Clash at the Castle? I'm still buzzing. What are your highlights? Mine's Edge's entrance. That was nuts. 62,000 people just singing, on this day, I see clearly everything. Drew's Broken Dreams theme song was tremendous. The package that they played going into it was great. Bret Hart being in attendance, tremendous. I'm adding some here. Gutted I didn't meet the nose. Oh, I'm sorry. Hopefully next time. However, I'm still frustrated with the finish. The match was perfect until the ending. Drew deserved his moment on home-ish soil. At least split the belt so we don't have to wait 3 months to see it defended again. Who do you see defeating Reigns? Feels they've built him up so much that I don't know who beats him. Surely not a theory cash-in. Maybe Cody wins the Rumble and wins at Mania. Maybe The Rock, but then he'd have to stay and defend. What are your thoughts? Much love to your boy Abe. I thought, obviously, the great moment, the great pop would have been him winning. I do think in this new era for Triple H, Roman Reigns is such a big star. You want that established draw as the face of the company. So I actually think that it's good that they didn't book for the night, and as opposed to that, they were looking long term. Obviously, everyone would have been happy. It would have been a great moment. But I like that because it almost seemed predictable that he would win. So we want unpredictability. Of course, I would have loved it. I was kind of indifferent to the finish, not in a bad way. I didn't hate the match. I thought Solo Sikoa debuting was cool. Tyson Fury's involvement was cool. How many times is Austin going to try to cash in? It's getting a little old, but fine. Didn't hate it. Felt for Drew. Spoke to him afterwards. He was very sad. This is, again, something that people need to remember when they say to me, oh, it's fake, it's scripted, this and that, on and on they go. I wish you could have seen how sad Drew was backstage. I wish you could have seen that because, again, as I've said, winning that belt, getting those moments, that's a lifetime achievement award. That's not something that someone just hands to you. That's something that you work and earn and deserve. And he wanted to earn that moment. He felt like he deserved that moment and he didn't get it. And he was bummed about that. And so, for people to just dismiss that this stuff is fake, scripted, that there's no emotion, that there aren't 20 years of broken bodies and dreams and hearts, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this, just those one singular moments that people talk about forever, like Davey Boy Smith in 1992, is just such an insulting thing. You may not like it, you may not enjoy it, but I just hope that you can respect the struggle that goes into just getting to that moment. And he wanted the payoff, and he was robbed of that moment 2 years ago, and he wanted the payoff, and I really felt for him. But wrestling is at its best when it's unpredictable, and I felt like, hey, we all thought it was going to happen, and it didn't happen, and that's great, because guess what? If MMA was wrestling, Usman wins against Leon Edwards. Conor wins against Nate Diaz. That's why we love MMA. That's why a lot of us, moved over to MMA. So don't hate it. Curious to see where they go. And yeah, I agree. There aren't a lot of great options right now. Cody coming back would be big. I guess that's the biggest, freshest one. And then you could do Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania without the belt. Interesting times. Patrick, favorite segment of the week is finally back. 2 quick questions. When you were interviewing Triple H and he was recounting his health battles, what was going through your mind? I got the chills just from listening. GC, loved the UFC Paris hype video, but how the hell do you keep your kitchen so clean? Yeah, how the hell do you keep it so clean, GC?
I clean it.
Wow. Okay.
Fairly often.
Are you like a neat freak?
Not a neat freak, but I like my house to be clean. I think Frank can attest to that.
Does Frank come in and just walk? Are you a big take off your shoes if you come into my house guy?
Actually, no. Someone was ripping on me for wearing shoes in the video.
Yeah, that's messed up. You wear shoes from outside into your house?
Do you guys need to see me in socks? That's why I put them on. I put the shoes on.
You can have house shoes, flip-flops. That's what I wear.
Yeah, they're slides.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have been in slides.
Wait, but you wear shoes from out, you'll go on the subway and then walk into your house?
I mean, I'll walk into my house and immediately take off my shoes.
Oh, you won't go sit and watch TV, go into your kitchen?
No.
Oh, so you don't wear shoes in your house?
Typically, no.
I mean, I think...
You're saying, am I when Frank comes over, I'm not I'm not take them off.
Oh, come on. Why not?
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's an awkward conversation, no doubt. I have people, I'm not going to lie, people come into the house and I'm looking at them. I'm
I always
staring.
ask, shoes on, shoes off?
It should be...
He did do that first time he came over. He's like, shoes on, shoes off.
It should always be shoes off.
I got to be able to run out of somewhere.
Everyone gets a little more comfortable with the shoes off.
No, come on. This is my house.
No, I like that. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, like this is my house. You know, like you're walking
have
in
some
here.
respect, keep it clean.
Disgusting. You're going to a public bathroom. There's pee all over the place. God knows what's on the floor of the subway, and you're walking into my house. It's disgusting. You see some people lying on their bed wearing their shoes. I mean, I think
that's.
Honestly, I
that's a
think
whole nother level.
people are like. I think you're a serial killer if you walk around your house with shoes on.
I don't think Frank has ever seen me with shoes on in my house.
No, never. And the last time I asked if I could take them off mid-fight.
Wow. You were already in the house with the shoes and you kept them on?
Are you a
shoes off?
I'm a shoes off in my place.
Are you a barefoot guy?
You know, it's one thing for me. I'm not a barefoot guy. You come to my house, you take your shoes off, and I'll give you a booty just in case.
Well, what is that?
Like the little
plastic thing. Like if you put it around your feet.
Oh.
No. You may be extra if.
I'm in my own house. I'll go barefoot.
You go barefoot?
I'll rock the bare feet as well. Yeah.
I don't like a barefoot house.
Oh man.
I don't like the feeling of my barefoot on the wood. I search feverishly for my slides, flip-flops, whatever you call them. I need to wear
That's
those.
how my roommate is.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen my roommate's feet before.
It's a weird
I don't
thing.
think he has feet.
Yeah.
You walk around barefoot?
Socks and slides all the time. Do you go slides with socks or no?
Yes.
With socks, yeah. Yeah, that's how my roommate is.
I mean, I'm a big sock guy. I actually sleep with socks. How do you feel about that?
That's not me.
How do you don't get warm?
In the wintertime, I sleep t-shirt, hoodie, sweatpants, socks.
I actually
involved here, or?
I actually can get on board with that in the winter, especially up here in the north.
Yeah.
I don't mind a hoodie sleep in the winter. You put the hood up.
Oh, it's tremendous.
Some nice socks. I can feel with you there, but like right now in the summer.
Oh, in the summer, no. But I'm still,
socks
I'm still
in the summer too?
Yeah, sure.
And this is in addition to blankets and shoes.
Ankle socks, yeah, of course.
Ankle socks.
Yeah.
But you got to have some on.
Yeah, I'm not a big ankle sock guy. Like, I'll never wear ankle socks here. Like, I'll always wear these ones,
You're not a frame. Yeah, there we go.
Here we go. Wait. Always wear.
Don't pick the microphone.
I'm a big stance socks guy. Very expensive. They're very expensive, but very good quality. And I like to wear those. Too tight to sleep in, so I'll go with like the thinner Hanes ankle sock for sleep. By the way, there was once a time where I would wear t-shirt, hoodie, mesh shorts, sweatpants over the mesh shorts, and socks.
Too bad.
Yeah.
Was this to fight off mosquitoes? Like, what
No,
are you doing?
I like to be super cozy. I like to be toasty.
Sounds sweaty.
Clean house is important though.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Triple H interview was a bucket list interview for me. I mean, what a story, what a guy. And then, yeah, of course, I actually talked to him before the interview a bit about kids and life and birthdays and things of that nature. We had talked about missing birthdays and how I try not to miss birthdays. I haven't missed one yet. Jake Paul fight on my daughter's birthday, next day, all that stuff. And then, so I really respect the way he views family, especially now, and the stuff that he says about like viewing life through the lens that he was viewing life when he was, on his deathbed almost. His heart was, he was going through, heart failure. Very, very powerful stuff. Just a really great, genuine guy. I really just enjoy him and enjoyed that conversation, and couldn't have been more gracious with his time and his demeanor, everything. And so, yeah, I get, when I see someone else get emotional, especially when it comes to life, health, family, I get emotional as well. Love the stuff that he said about his wife, Stephanie, being by his side and helping him. And I can't say enough about him and the stuff that he said in that interview. It was really one that I will never forget. Really cool scene. The BT scene was awesome. It was amazing. Yeah. I can't thank him enough. It's not easy to open up like that. And I know he did that interview with Stephen A. And when I watched that interview, I felt like there was more that needed to be talked about and that I wanted to ask about. And I mean, he really went in great detail, and he didn't have to. And I really appreciated that and really, really enjoyed that conversation. I mean, like, that was the highlight of my trip for sure. And a conversation I'll never forget. I never had a chance to do a sit down one-on-one with him. And considering where he's at right now in the company, I mean, head of creative, EVP talent relations, no better time than now. So really appreciated that. A. Feldman, what's up, Ariel? Hope you had a nice trip to see the family and to London. I appreciate it. I was wondering how you see the state of MMA media and where it's going. Obviously, the sport is more mainstream than it ever has been, but the UFC continues to give credentials to some interesting reporters. Lots of fighters, including Izzy, O'Malley, and Patty, are putting together these high-quality video blogs on their YouTube channels, and some are even doing their own interviews on their channel as well. In my mind, this allows the fighters to be very selective with who they choose to interview with, considering their platforms are producing high viewers. Obviously, someone like you who has a huge platform still has a ton of leverage to get fighters to come on your show, but I imagine plenty of others, lesser known reporters, could potentially have a tough time. How do you think this all plays out? And by the way, I'm someone who's affected by this too. I've heard this. I'm not going to name names, but like, oh, I got my own channel. Why should I do that? So don't think that I'm immune to it, but that's the game. The thing is, like, I don't make money off of views. That's not the deal that I have here. So, someone is thinking like, oh, if I get you X amount of views, you're going to make money. Like I don't. Maybe someone else is making money, but I'm not. So I'm not necessarily profiting. Obviously, I get paid to do this, but I'm not necessarily profiting off of one singular person. I have no problem with fighters having their own YouTube channels. Good for them. Make as much money as they want. And I like the fact that the UFC allows this to happen. And I think there will always be fighters who are available. One of the good things about MMA is that fighters are accessible more so than other athletes. And I think that it's great. I think that it's great that fighters are accessible and that younger reporters have an opportunity to speak to them and do interviews with them, all kinds of things like that. So, of greater concern, and what I thought Feldman was going to bring up here was just like the quality of reporters that are being let in. And I think that some of the OGs, some of the people who have been doing this for a long time, don't really want to be a part of it. And there isn't a great incentive. We used to go to these media days and there were one-on-ones and you could kind of create your own unique content. There isn't much of that due to the pandemic. And, for whatever reason, there isn't that. Although there's media days at WWE, believe it or not. I got to do a few one-on-ones there. It's weird what's happening. It's like when I go to these WWE events, it reminds me of like 2011 UFC. Even now with the post-fight press conferences and all this stuff and the media days, it's a lot more fun than just like sitting in a room and someone comes up to the microphone and you get 15 minutes there and they walk off. It's very hard to create, unique personal content. So that coupled with, some of the shenanigans, the press conferences, like you want to be a part of that. It's tough. It's easy for me to sit here and poke holes in it, but if I'm it's not the same scene as like when and I'm not trying to be like the back in my day guy, but when I came in, you had guys like Neil Davidson and Mike Chiappetta and, Chuck Mindenhall and Aioli, like old school kind of respected older guys. I'm forgetting a ton of them, Dave Doyle and Dave Meltzer. I'm forgetting a ton. The Sherdog guys were around. Obviously, there were junkie guys. MMA fighting had the best team, in my opinion. Like it was, there weren't a lot of shenanigans. There weren't characters, so to speak. Gareth Davies, these types of guys. And you don't see a lot of that. And I think the UFC is very happy with that, by the way. I think that's what they want. I don't think they want, quote unquote, journalism. And that's a shame because I think that at times you are a reflection of your coverage. And so I always thought it was weird when Dana White would crap all over the MMA media. I'd be like, well, these are the people that cover you. And so what does it say about you if you say that the people who cover you are scumbags, losers, know-nothings, right? Like these are the people who are attracted to covering your business. So I think MMA media on the whole has, it's in a good spot. I wouldn't necessarily grade it by the core that is at all these events. There's a lot of people who are great who aren't at the events. Ariel Helwani, Shalom Ariel, did you enjoy your experience watching a Premier League game in person? Can you and the MMA team provide your predictions for the winner of the Premier League, Nottingham Forest, and the winner of the Champions League for the 2022-2023 season? I loved it. It was incredible. I would love to see a game. I mean, I saw a lot of people criticizing the empty Etihad Stadium. I joke, Etihad. I have nothing against Man City. Everyone calm down. I mean, the asinine tweets are just amazing. We're just having fun, okay? Relax. It's not that serious. Now, I'm not discrediting this, by the way. Sports are serious. Sports mean a lot. If the Bills ever won, I would cry. I don't know what I would do. If the Knicks ever won, I would do the same. If the Expos ever came back, I would do the same. But why you should care about some idiot picking a team. By the way, I love when they say that we're bandwagoners. Like, Nottingham Forest is going to be fighting for their spot in the Premier League the whole year and could very well be relegated. I'm very aware of this. We ain't jumping off. But if you know the history of us even becoming Everton fans solely because they sent me a jersey, like, it's not like I'm some long time suffering Everton fan who's now jumped off to a team that will probably be at around the same spot, if not worse, unless we shock the world, which would be tremendous. But I just love the vibes. I love the story. I love the vibes. I love the comeback. I love the fan base. I love the jersey. I love the logo. Getting into some of the players. I love the people behind the scenes. Like, just let me be, for God's sakes. Let me be happy. I'm not trying to ruin your happiness, damn it. But yeah, I've heard, Old Trafford or Arsenal or, one of these. I mean, I've heard City Ground is incredible. So I'd love to experience that. But this was amazing, especially, like I said at the top, getting to sit with the away fans was really, really special. And them coming out and giving me yes, I'm very aware that 3 weeks ago I was not a quote unquote fan of this team. And I'm aware at how absurd all of this is. But guess what? They appreciate having our support. They're great guys. And so I'm happy to support them. And I think we're all, and I think I could speak for, GC, Frank, myself, GC's friend Jake, we're all part of this text thread. I think I could speak for all of us, right, guys? We enjoy it. It's fun, right?
Absolutely.
Most fun I've had watching Premier League.
So, what the hell? Leave us alone, you jabrones. Oh, you took someone's ticket. Oh, what are you talking about? Look, guess what? I asked. They gave me 2 tickets. No one was hurt. All right? And it was 24 hours before the game. I don't know who was using those tickets. And there were a lot of empty, there were a couple, it was a full row in front of me that was completely empty. So, what are you talking about? You're acting like I'm one of those guys at the baseball game who snatches the home run ball away from a little kid. I ain't that guy. Loved it. And I feel like after this experience, there was a time where I was super into Premier League and soccer in general. I was in a fan, this is 2005, 2006. I was a big Watford fan. For whatever reason. I liked Watford. I thought it was cool, the W. And Ashley Young was my guy. Anyway, in college, I was really into it. I would watch Champions League. I had nothing else to do during the day. And then over time, I kind of got out of it. But yesterday, I was watching Celtic Real Madrid. I was watching PSG, Maccabi Haifa. So, yeah. I think it would be great. And honestly, I joke about the you'll never win Europe, you'll never, whatever the song is. Champions of Europe. They were singing this song to the Man City fans because Nottingham has won 2 European championships. Champions of Europe, you'll never sing that. You'll never sing that. You'll never sing that. Champions of Europe, you'll never sing that. But if I'm being honest, it feels like Man City could very well win the Champions League. I mean, that dude, Erling Haaland, is unbelievable. Did you see that hat trick? It was actually pretty amazing just watching them play from up top because it felt like I was watching the Warriors of a few years ago or the Bulls in the 90s. The movement, the passing, the strategy, it was beautiful. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's fun. And my kids are really getting into soccer, playing soccer. So they're getting into it as well, playing FIFA. So it's fun to be a fan. All right? Lighten up. Jimmy O, good day, Mr. Helwani. First time, long time. Just a question regarding the separation of church and state, so to speak. You have been in the MMA sphere for so long. So I wonder if you were able to actually sit down and root for fighters and enjoy fights as a fan. Like, you clearly have a soft spot for guys such as Conor and Nate, and seemingly have beef with people like Colby. I don't have beef with Colby. I don't agree with some of the things he said, don't love, like, obviously I feel some sort of way about people who I feel like I've kind of, given positive shine to when other people weren't, and then they just kind of stab you in the back. But do I have beef with him? No. I would have him on the show in a second. If he doesn't want to come on, I'm not losing sleep. So please, understand that. And beef with all the blokes that Ali represents. Again, I don't have beef with those guys. I love Frankie Edgar. I adore Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar is a legend. I really have no... there's obviously guys that I don't like. Yeah, you get my point. And there are people, by the way, who I don't like, who aren't represented by Ali and have nothing to do with Colby. So anyway, you like people, you don't like people. Back to the question. I just wonder if you can ever put aside those differences from being so connected to these fighters in whatever way and actually enjoy the fights, or are you far too in the weeds? No, I can enjoy it. But again, you have a moment like Leon, it's even better, right? But I don't think I'm far too in the weeds. Ariel, look at us now. We'll never get old. The PGA Tour and all related golf tournaments, this is from Coach Jay, have come under significant fire from all media outlets regarding their treatment of the golfers due to them being quote-unquote independent contractors. UFC fighters face these same issues times 20, but the media coverage is nowhere near the same magnitude. Why do you think this is? Because golf is bigger sport, in terms of media coverage, is more traditional media covering golf. Do you believe the UFC is silencing ESPN behind the scenes to ensure they don't allow fighter pay to become a SportsCenter headline? I can tell you from my experience, spoke about it a little bit, but was definitely encouraged not to speak about it. That's for sure. Can you say from your time at ESPN that pushing favorable UFC narratives is more critical to the brass than groundbreaking stories and issues due to the ESPN living and dying by pay-per-view sales and numbers exclusively, especially since the UFC has already won on the front of the deal? Look, I want no smoke with ESPN. It was a great time. I learned a lot, great experiences. I'm better off because of it. But I would be disingenuous. I would be lying to you if I didn't say that at times I was asked not to speak about certain things, and that made me uncomfortable. And so I can't sugarcoat that, and I don't want to get into the weeds, and I don't think it's worth it. But that was all part of my feeling of it's maybe time to go. Listen, I could play the game. I get it. Broadcast deals is that, but when you're being edited, silenced, told not to say things, I have a hard time dealing with that. And it was one thing when I had the Fox job and the MMA fighting job, I was able to justify it. This was my only job. And so I didn't have that outlet to speak about things. I can assure you, the coverage is a little bit different for this Nate fight, right? That was tough for me. Adriano, hi Ariel. So many questions asked, not sure what you will talk about during the show. If you haven't spoken about the altercation between Hamzat and Costa, and you think that's a fight that might happen while Usman Edwards' trilogy happens, the question I have for you today is, what was Elaine going to tell Jerry when the plane was about to crash? That's a great question. I think she was going to say that she loved him, right? I feel like that's what everyone thinks. And yeah, Khamzat Costa would be batshit crazy. What a bizarre scene that was. And yeah, maybe Khamzat takes that fight while Usman Edwards 3 happens. It's unfortunate for Khamzat because if Usman would have won, he would have gone to the title shot with the win. Now he's kind of in limbo. Obviously, he has to win on Saturday. So yeah, maybe a Costa fight, that would be wild. Maybe a Colby fight, that would be wild. But you're playing with fire there because those are tough matchups. The Hamzat Costa back and forth was weird. It was a lot of X-rated talk, right? Jamal, you know what time it is? You know what the real reason for the season is? I'm talking about PSLs, pumpkin spice lattes. Are you a fan or no? I know my boy GC is all about it. Mysterious Frank is too judgmental to ever even try one. This is from Lewis, editor's note. The shade towards Mysterious Frank and still making it on the nose is questionable form for me. Wow, he's even calling himself out. Is that true, Mysterious Frank? You're not a fan of the PSL?
I'm not a big fan.
Why?
We all have opinions.
Two too sweet, right?
Yeah. Let me tell you a story. So
Oh, please.
we're sitting at the last fight over at Connor's, my wife and I.
By the way, how does he? How did this guy know this, or was he just
I
guessing?
think it's just a guess.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, I decided to order some coffees because it's becoming a later night, and I have the feeling that my wife would want a pumpkin spice. When come to find out, she doesn't. So she wanted just a regular coffee. So I end up drinking the pumpkin spice, and then I get a ration of crap from everybody about it being too early to drink pumpkin spice.
Wow.
And I'm like, look, I don't want to end this cult. I never asked to be a part of it. I was just trying to deliver, for somebody else. It didn't work out. So now I'm like, the door's shut. Never again.
Strict rules. There's strict rules. I wait till the first day of fall. I can't wait. Just 2 weeks from today. On the way to work, I'm going to get, some sort of fall-themed drink, pumpkin spice, whatever it may be. I mean, this guy's drinking pumpkin spice August 20th. And it's 98 degrees out, and he's drinking pumpkin spice.
I'm surprised they even sell it.
I mean, they
When do they start?
Dunkin' starts on like August 6th.
And this was Tim Hortons, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where he found a Tim Hortons near me down in Brooklyn. Or
Timmy
why.
H?
Timmy
Great
H.
Canadian brand.
Great Canadian brand. Drinking it at 9 p.m. Also. Pumpkin spice latte. I felt disrespected.
I missed the meeting. I
honest,
didn't realize there was a whole.
Wow.
He was wearing shoes, drinking a pumpkin spice latte at 9 p.m. in my house.
Can I say something? Well, that part is, the shoe part is the most offensive. Can I just say something? I'm not one who likes to play by those rules. I'm a bit of an outlaw when it comes to this. Like, people say, oh, you shouldn't have soup in July. I couldn't care less.
Speaking of which, go ahead.
Have all the soup you want. You shouldn't have an ice cream bar in January. Who gives a crap? You want ice cream? Be happy. Have your ice cream. It's the same feeling I have about well-done steak or any of the other stuff that I talk about. So you want to have your pumpkin spice in July? Have it in July. I will say this, though. I'm not that, like, even my kids yesterday came home. They went to the grocery store with my wife, and they got like some pumpkin toys. I was like, damn, we're already doing this? Like, I feel like Labor Day just had, like, it's a little early. When I was in Boston, the weekend we went to pick up my kids from camp, it was the weekend of UFC England 2 or London 2, the July one, Aspinall and Blades. And we were in a store in Boston. So that was what, July 23rd? We went into a store and it was all Thanksgiving stuff in there. Like, that to me is absurd.
That's insanity. That's insanity.
Thanksgiving. It was Halloween and Thanksgiving. What are we doing?
You could be thankful year round.
I know.
Here's one thing I'll say as a rebuttal to that. I'm like a huge fall guy, and I know I'm going to eat a ton of pumpkin and apple and all that themed stuff. So if I start too early, by the time when it really hits its peak, like third weekend of October, I'll already be tired of it. So I don't want to wear it.
So when's
out.
your first time having it?
Oh, first day of fall, September 21st. That's when I kick it into gear. That's when I start with the Halloween movies, everything like that.
Do you make it a point? Like, do you actually go to get?
I'm counting down the days. It'll be 2 weeks from today. On the way to work, I will stop in and get some sort of fall thing.
Where?
Why 2
coffee.
weeks? For the 21st? Or
Yeah,
maybe just a Starbucks. Maybe just a the classic PSL.
Can't do Starbucks.
There's a couple local shops that have good fall themed stuff.
Can I tell you something? I've become that guy where there's a coffee shop near my house. They do such a good cappuccino. Like, I love it. Like, I think about it and I get giddy. I've now become that guy, like on a Saturday morning, who will say to my wife, like, I just need 10 minutes. I'm going to get this coffee and I'm coming back.
That's the kind of guy you should be.
Is that weird?
No.
I feel a little bit embarrassed doing it. I'm not going to lie. And she always gives me a look.
There was a place in Connecticut that I had like that. I haven't found another one in New York just yet.
Yeah.
There was a place that the greatest coffee drink I've ever had. I get it every time I go back. It was a honey nut iced latte. And like once a week I would just be like,
was this the Bronson?
No. But that's a great coffee shop. No, this was just a place called Doro Marketplace. It's just the best coffee I've ever had. I'd go and get it every week. Yeah,
I just really enjoy it. That one weekend where I got to tell you, that one weekend where my family was gone and it was Everton, Nottingham, followed by all those fights, and Blue Jays were playing the Yankees during the day. Like that, I went to get a coffee with my dog, which I never do, of course, because like there's everyone.
Dog's name is Matcha?
Matcha, yes. Why am I not? Was that rude?
It's a tea name. It's funny.
Oh yeah, it's because of her eyes, green. But yeah, fair. Yeah, we didn't name her. My sister did. Anyway,
Shout out to Sister Helwani.
Yeah, see, there's another shout out. It was one of the great 20-minute stretches of my life. I mean, I was sitting there walking the dog, having my coffee. It was amazing. When I got off the train in Manchester, walked from the train to the stadium, it was a beautiful day. It was like 5:00, early September. It was like, was it September 1st, August 31st? You get the point. And I was thinking to myself, the only thing that would make this moment greater in my life right now, because I was giddy just to see the stadium, feel the crowd, get the jersey, all that, was holding a cappuccino in my hand, almond cappuccino.
You've become that guy.
I've become that guy. I saw a place, I was really lamenting this. I saw a place at the train station, thought more were to come, didn't stop, thought about turning around and starting the journey again, getting the coffee and doing the 30-minute walk. But at that point, I was already 15 minutes in. I was like, I don't want to go. Like, now I'm adding, 15. In any event, I really thought the only thing that would make this better right now is if I had something in my hand. And now, I'm not talking about nursing an iced coffee for like 45 minutes. I'm talking about just taking this thing and just feeling that euphoria that comes with it.
How long does it take you to drink a cup of cappuccino?
I'm a quick guy. I'm quick.
Yeah, same here.
The main reason why I love coming in to do this show twice a week is I stop at the Black Fox.
The truth comes out.
Yeah, that's it. It's very exciting. I've actually reached the point where they know my order.
That's huge. That's huge
Big.
to get to that point.
Yeah. Man, all this coffee talk. I feel like I want another one. No, unsweetened. Alex has asked me sweetened or unsweetened. Unsweetened. Always.
Yeah, the one time Alex will jump into the combos if it's about coffee.
coffee.
And he's on like his 9th cup
His
already.
nickname is Mr. Coffee.
Ahmad. Salam alaikum, my friend. Wa alaikum salam. Big fan from Saudi Arabia here. I would like to know if the Reebok Venom deal is criticized for reducing the sponsorship for fighters or the lack of customizations. Yes, absolutely. Would you rather have Venom gear with infinite amount of sponsors on it or a custom gear limited to 3 sponsors only? Infinite. Shower us with sponsors. Let it be NASCAR. That's what they told us, right? We're getting rid of it because we don't want it to look like NASCAR. Meanwhile, there are more sponsors than ever on the mat, on the cage, all over the place. So yes. Listen, you want Venom to be the gear? Great. Let them have all the sponsors they want. What's the problem? If not, give them 3. It's not even 3. It's 0. Kareem, hi Ariel. Which fight do you think would do more pay-per-views? Honestly, Jake Paul versus Nate or Jake Paul versus KSI? I would much rather see the Nate fight, but I think KSI would draw much bigger numbers. Would love to know your thoughts. I can't say KSI. Listen, I respect the fact that it's a big deal. Kids love it. The numbers that they draw are insane. But in terms of what would actually draw like mainstream press media, I think only certain people would cover the KSI fight. I think the Nate fight, especially if he won. I mean, if he won, it's gigantic. I don't know. At least for me, it's a bigger fight. I can't really speak for the 18-year-olds. Am I crazy, GC? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're pretty spot on there. I mean, it's hard to doubt KSI and Jake Paul doing numbers after what we saw KSI do with DAZN the other week.
Yeah. And who knows what the numbers are there as well. Kevin Parker, hello Ariel. With Anderson Silva fighting Jake Paul, it made me wonder, does Silva have the best walkout song ever? I feel like No Sunshine by DMX fits his fighting style. And it's just a cool song. What do you think? It's up there. Ever? I don't know about ever. Love DC's back in the day. Connor's was great. I mean, there's a lot of great ones, but it's up there. And I hope he walks out to it. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. You know that song, Frank? Only
Yes.
darkness. Yeah, that would be great. Who turned off the lights? Man, if he comes out to that, like that visual of Anderson freaking Silva, like I feel like the entire MMA community will just stop, right? Because Woodley, it was great. And I'm not trying to do revisionist history, but there were some people who like didn't like Woodley. And Anderson has had his moments. And there was once a time where he was the biggest villain in MMA. People hated him. Like I remember Abu Dhabi, they were like, who's the guy? Who's the one to stop this monster? Is it Brock? Is it GSP? Is it Forrest Garrett Griffin? I don't know. No, Forrest was 101. But you get the point. People hated him. Vitriol. He will never be more loved than he is on October 29th. Adam Kaplan, 3 quick things. Who would you favor in a hypothetical fight, Robert Whittaker or Khamzat Chimaev? Oh my God, what a fight. I don't know. Who do you think would be the favorite for that fight?
Probably Hamzat.
Man, what a fight, eh?
God, I'd love to see it.
Wow, I never even thought of that fight. Any update on Mark Hunt's class action lawsuit against UFC? No, but I'll ask him. When are you having Josh Barnett back on? Haven't thought of it. Would you like him back on? His student Shayna Baszler had a nice showing over the weekend at Clash at the Castle. There's actual castles, by the way, in Cardiff. I don't know if you know this. But by the way, I also had a Welsh cake. Nice little treat, I have to say. There was a chocolate chip one, a traditional one, and one with almond and orange. Really
and
nice.
you had 3 slices of cake?
No, it's like a little cookie, but they call it a Welsh cake. Really, really nice. And the people there were just so nice. They have their own language there. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice. I went to a nice coffee shop there as well. I went on Yelp. I was like, I need to find like a good, I don't want to go to, Starbucks. I found a good one. I went on a 20-minute walk just to get to this coffee shop, and they were very nice.
What was the name of the coffee shop?
You know what? Should I give them a shout out?
No, I was just wondering if it was like a Welsh name. And
No, it was something with a boy.
Coffee boy.
Tall boy. Coffee shop Wales.
That narrows it down.
No. Something, man. It was something with a person's name in it. And they told me that Little Man Coffee Shop. There it is. Shout out to the Little Man Coffee Shop in Cardiff. I enjoyed it. Really nice. Okay, just a few more left here. Mash, good to have you back. Here's a question which I'm interested in your take on, as you are both a self-confessed germaphobe and a collector of MMA memorabilia. After wins, we often see fighters take out their mouthpiece and throw it into the crowd. Let's imagine you're in the arena. Leon Edwards has just landed that head kick. Everyone's on their feet. And as you are stood there having just witnessed history, you see the mouthpiece flying through the air right towards you. What do? You got to catch it. You catch it, and then you put it in a bag and you pray to the gods that you're not sick afterwards. But yeah, you got to catch it. Of course. Hut, what are your thoughts on the way the Buffalo Bills handled the Matt Araiza situation? Yes. Very controversial. Should a player be kicked off the team before due process? Seems like the court of public opinion found him guilty. Then the Bills took action. Just curious your thoughts. I mean, this is a very tricky one and a very nuanced one, a complex one. I don't really have an issue with it. I'd like to think they did their proper investigation. They looked into it. They did their due diligence. And I think there's too much at stake. Obviously, a very talented player. And the details of this alleged incident, horrific, disgusting, beyond belief. And I think that there's just too much at stake for this team to even let something like that fester. More often than not in the NFL, you see these situations get swept under the rug. So I appreciate the Bills, handling it the way they did. Tough spot for them. They had just released a kicker, and he was the one of the future. And then they had to start from scratch with not a lot of time left. But I just don't know if you can have that type of situation lingering in the locker room. And I know some people will come out and say due process, this and that, but man, that's some serious stuff. That's some serious, serious stuff. And just really hard to look past. Something happened, right? And just a hard situation to look past. So that's my team. I would like to think that they did their due diligence. And, I'm going to support them. But yeah, a very, very disappointing, troubling, complex situation. Yanni, longtime listener, big fan of your work. Can you tell us how you selected the intro music for the MMA Hour and of your other show? I enjoy them both. Keep up the great stuff. I'll tell you how. I was sitting with Josh Audie at the AOL studios way back in the day, 2009. We were sitting in that little room. This was before Fight House Radio episode 1. There were 3 episodes of Fight House Radio. Then we were told there was a gym in New York City called Fight House. We had to change the music. And then it became the MMA Hour. And I remember he played me 2 songs. I swear to God, he played me 2 songs. The first was the intro. The second was the outro. And I was like, oh, let's do that for the intro. Let's do that for the outro. And I remember when I went to ESPN, I wanted something similar, and I had to listen to hundreds of songs to find anything that kind of made me feel the same. And the song that we actually picked for that was from the World Cup in Brazil. It was like part of the bumper music that they used for the World Cup coverage, which I always thought was weird. It had like a little bit of a samba feel to it. So I don't know why or how or the reason behind why, like he gave me that song or he showed me that song, but I liked it, felt unique, felt fun. And then the second song felt like a good outro song. And so we just ran with that. So yeah, since 2009. And so the voice that you hear, like it's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour, is his voice distorted from the AOL days. It's the same guy's voice. And then the Ariel Helwani is Lenny Hart, who did that on my show. Like that's like taken off an interview from the AOL MMA Hour. That's how long we've had that intro for. So we're talking over 13 years now. Crazy. Tayshawn, hey Ariel, missed having you a part of the routine this week, but hope you all enjoyed the well-deserved break. My question is pertaining to the rumored announcement of Darren Till returning in December to fight Dricus du Plessis at 282. I'm curious if we'll ever get to hear your side of the story in regard to the leak phone number, and if this leak means we will not see the gorilla ever return to the MMA Hour. With high regard, Vincent. I should have read Lewis's editor's note there. I will say this: Darren has reached out to me and apologized to me, and I will just leave it at that for now. I will leave it at that. Keith, hey Ariel, you can only choose one: a beautiful road trip ready VW Westphalia, or a lifetime supply of delicious acai straight from Brazil. What are you going with? Wow. Got to be the Westphalia. I really want that Westphalia. I want it bad. I really want it bad. I feel like I'll get really fat if I just eat acai all day. As good as it is, I feel like I'll get a lot more, pardon the pun, mileage out of the Westphalia. I want a Westphalia. I finally reach a point in my life where I feel like there are things that I want and I feel like it's time to get them, you know? And I've never been my lease, my car is up, and my wife is like, oh, let's get this. I'm like, can we just keep the same thing? I don't care about any of this stuff. I'm not a big material guy. I'm not a big gadgets guy. I'm not a big car guy. Couldn't care less about any of it. But for some reason, I just want that Westphalia. I want to sit in that driver's seat and drive the thing with my kids in the back and say, like, where are we going? Let's go get ice cream. Let's go on a road trip. I just want that. I want to close the blinds. I don't know. I just want it. Last one. Ariel the Great, Matan, which means present in Hebrew. It's been over a year of the independent Helwani experience. We've seen so many good things, but I'm wondering, what have been some of the struggles you've encountered since becoming independent? Man, struggles. Have there been struggles? I mean, honestly, the toughest part of my week is booking this show. It's definitely the thing that brings me the most stress. I would say the only real struggle, because there haven't been many, is just like finding the time to do everything and juggling everything. I actually had like a really big opportunity recently that for the first time in my career, I said yes to, and then I had to back out because I realized I was putting too much on my plate. What that was, I will save for a later date, but I guess it's just like knowing when to say yes, when to say no, not doing too much, not doing things for the wrong reasons, to like stick it to people or to show people or things like that, like knowing what's the right path to take. But overall, I mean, that's me getting into the weeds. Overall, it's been pretty damn great. And dare I say, year 2, off to a tremendous start. Feel pretty damn good about everything. So we're back, and we've got a lot to talk about on Monday, dare I say. Nathan Diaz, Khamzat Chimaev, I appreciate everyone who sent in questions. Thank you very much. Appreciate Mr. Lewis, Moderator Lewis, for sending them in. And, you know, I was really happy to be back in the UK, first time since 2016 in London, first time in Manchester since 2017 when I did the Connor thing. The European fans, the UK fans, may be my favorite pound for pound and the ones that have been the best to us over the years. So it was really great. I wish I could have stayed there longer, to be honest. And I hope I get a chance to be back in the very near future. Just really, really great, genuine, authentic, lovely people.